Sup world, I know this is a bit late into the season, but I've been continually theory crafting and putting together what I believe is one of the first truly ranged rogue builds for Diablo 4. What I mean by that is that all skills require a 200, so no puncture, and you have zero reason to ever enter melee range unless dealing with the suppressor elite. I like to say we did it finally, and with the bow instead of a crossbow. No more ugly, clunky crossbows ruining our fun, physically and well, visually. Let's do a brief overview. This setup is a stutter stepper's dream. Forceful Arrow with the bow feels extremely nice to stutter step around while dodging and repositioning for the best shot possible, and we found ways to get enough attack speed to make it feel fluid, including firing rapid fire, which is naturally clunky on its own. This alone allows us to not worry so much about the defensive side of things, since we can avoid most things by simply playing well, thus taking far less damage than normal setups because we're truly playing at range. So far, this is the most fun I've had playing my rogue in the recent. We do the typical combo point building with our basic attack and fire rapid fire once at 3 combo points. We always fire rapid fire with an imbuement, as this is where most of our damage is coming from, and we start with cold imbuement to maximize damage buffs for the barber explosion. We use shadow imbuement when cold imbuement is on cooldown to mop up the rest. Smoke grenade is used versus tough elite packs to prevent them from casting skills, keeping you safe while adding a multiplicative 20% damage bonus. Casting smoke grenade also gives you a shadow decoy from the heart in this build, so even if your aim is a bit off and you miss most of your targets, the taunt will make them useless and you can just burn them down. Dash is just to get around quickly, but not necessary. There's no unstoppable in this setup. Even though there's less of a need for this, if you feel uncomfortable playing without one, and let's say hardcore, you can always opt for concealment or shadow step. Let's get into the skill tree. Alright, so let's talk about the skills. First, we have Forceful Arrow because we'll be using the bow, and it feels really good with the bow. You do want to come down here and take Fundamental Forceful Arrow with the knockback. That's going to help you stay ranged at a distance, and of course it's going to help you proc concussive amongst some other things. Very good. Do not pick Primary Forceful Arrow. I know it got buffed in the recent patch. It's really actually a nerf, but we're going to not talk about that in this video. We go down to rapid fire, of course, max that out, get as many points as you can. Come all the way down to advanced rapid fire. We don't need the resource because we're doing combo points. So this is a huge buff to your critical strike damage because it's multiplicative and it lasts for 5 seconds. With the buff, that makes it pretty good and you can keep it up quite often, especially when you use the boots implicit that has the evade cooldown proc there. So with that, you're able to evade out of every rapid fire that you shoot, and therefore you can keep up this buff, well, permanently. Then you also have stutter step, which is just, allow you to be able to move quicker since you'll be stutter stepping anyways, or you will want to stutter step with this because it feels really good to do so. Moving down here, we have weapon mastery, and it's important that you take this as well as try to get this on your amulet because this is vulnerable damage when you're using a bow, and this vulnerable damage is multiplicative. So with the bow, you want to try to hit as hard as we can with the actual bow, and this is going to help do that as well. Moving down to here, we take dash. You just put 1 point into dash just to be able to move around. You don't even have to take dash if you don't want to, but it's kind of nice to be able to get out of some sticky situations if you want. As you notice, we don't really have an unstoppable in this build, so let's say you don't feel comfortable with that, even though you're at range, and you really shouldn't be getting into that kind of trouble. But if you don't feel comfortable with that, you can always just take shadow step to be able to get out as you're unstoppable, or you can go down to concealment and do that if you would prefer to do that. Then we do come down to take concussive, simply just because we're knocking back with Forceful Arrow, as well as we're going to be knocking down while enemies are dazed. We have 2 ways to do that, and that is with smoke grenade and also manglers. So we're going to get a lot of extra crit chance by doing this way, and as well as just being able to have an extra crowd control. Knocking down elites helps you, of course, stay alive and not get hit as much. So we definitely want to put at least 1 point into trick attacks for that purpose. We come down here, as you see, I take smoke grenade. Again, kind of a preference. I like having the extra damage here from this particular passive here. It's also pretty safe as you know, they can't attack you as long as they're smoke grenade and you're dealing 20% more damage. So it's like very nice to have. For those who don't like smoke grenade, you can always use poison trap to still be able to trigger the taunt heart, excuse me, sorry. So if you don't want to use smoke grenade to do that, and again, if you miss with smoke grenade, you know, they'll be taunted to the heart. So it's very easy to kind of pick off things and kind of stay safe that way. So up to you. Don't have to use smoke grenade. I just think it's really good, and I put them on most of my builds anyways. Then of course you take exploit and malice. This is pretty much self-explanatory. It's just more damage. Dark Shroud, we put 3 points into here, but we get 4 points from the pants as well. It's just really good to have. Since we're playing pretty distant, it's easy to kind of get quite a few Dark Shroud shadows up. We get Dark Shroud even though you don't see it here listed. We get it from, sorry, I didn't put it here. There it is, cool. We get it from Umbra's aspect. So basically, you know, we crit and we get free shadows, and so the points that we put into Dark Shroud actually affects that too as well. And because we're playing range quite a bit, it's easy to kind of pick up quite a bit of shadows for free. And then we take the subverting Dark Shroud for the bonus movement speed, because you know you want to be fast with this. Moving down, we have the typical shadow imbue and cold imbuement here with precision imbuement. We do want to take mixed shadow imbuement. We don't really need or have a need to really use the explosions for vulnerable. We have many different ways to proc that. So we just take the extra 12% multiplicative damage here for shadow. Then we come down with cold imbuement. You know, we take mixed imbuement here because of course more damage. Frigid Finesse passive should be self-explanatory because we're using cold imbuement. Moving over here, Alchemist Fortune. This is actually pretty nice to have. It is additive lucky hit chance, which is going to help us proc not only Manglers more often, but also our Umbras more often too. So and since we're always imbued, we should be able to take advantage of this all the time. Coming down here to Innovation, you know, lucky hit up to, you know, 30% chance to gain 8 energy, which is nice to have. Just because of course Forcer Arrow, unlike Punctured, can't really give us back any resource, so this is pretty good to have. And it also synergizes really well with this because it's going to make this even easier to give a proc to give us energy back. Moving down, Adrenaline Rush, 1 point into that, only just to get into Haste, in which we put 3 points in, and that's just basically movement speed. We just want to move faster. And we come down here and we take Precision for our passive because it's just crit damage, and well, why not? So let's talk about gear real quick and the aspects on the bow, which is nice. We can actually use a bow here. It goes really well and pairs really well with the repeating aspect. So you're going to want to do this and have it here so that we can get, you know, a pretty nice clear or clearing potential. We're going to go with vulnerable damage, both crits and all stats. The all stats is there to be able to reach all the bonus Paragon nodes on the 4th and 5th boards. It's a very easy way to do that, so that's why we do that here. You want to put the emeralds in the sockets. Condemnation Dagger, very self-explanatory. Emeralds in the socket as well. The next one is you're going to want a sword. Again, vulnerable damage, crit damage, and score for skill damage here. And then Edge Master, because of course we're going to be mostly full in our resources for our globe. Coming to the rings, both rings, you want the same thing. All 3 crits, vulnerable damage as well. And as you notice, I did put both of my speed aspects on the rings. I do have rapid and I have accelerating, and of course we're trying to be fast and nimble, so it feels good to stutter step and, you know, shoot your rapid fire, because of course we don't want to be standing or be in the animation long for that. So we do that. In terms of the hearts, we use the crit damage heart because we crit a lot, and we do the decoy heart on the other one because of course we have smoke grenade or poison trap or whatever you choose to use in the slot here. It's going to give you a decoy that's going to allow you to really pretty much get free hits in, because they're going to attack the decoy and not you. So moving on to the necklace here, we want Disobedience just because it's the best slot to really put this on, and armor is a very important thing to have in this game. So amulet is almost always the best slot for this particular aspect. Then for the stats, we have movement speed. If you haven't put movement speed here in your amulet before for any build, you definitely want to do it for a ranged build because you want to dodge things and you're moving around. It feels freaking fantastic. One of the best stats to have. Weapon mastery passive, you want that because we're using a bow, and there's vulnerable damage, multiplicative vulnerable damage at that while using a bow with weapon mastery. So very important to have for bow users. So, and the other two stats are just typically just more damage. It's just additive damage, sure, but you don't really need the energy cost reduction. You don't even need cooldown reduction, to be honest with you. So if you just want to stack a little bit more damage, you can. If you need more defense, or you find yourself quite squishy, you can just go with damage reduction or total armor instead. And for here, we just put the Barber Heart, and of course the Barber Heart is, well, best in slot for lots of different builds in the game. So, and it works really well with Rapid Fire, help and clear. So there's a no-brainer to kind of put this in this slot. Moving up to the helm, cooldown reduction, basic attack skill speed, very important to have here. Again, trying to feel fast and be fast. Total armor, and of course life on kill is on here, and life on kill is very underrated. It's also the most important stat to have on this helm. It's the only sustain that we have in this build, so definitely necessary. Ruby here on the helm. Now we're gonna go with the chest. You want close, distance, damage reduction, total armor is kind of the standard here. Then we put Umbrus for the aspect for the free dark shroud, self-explanatory. Moving on to the gloves, we do plus ranks to rapid fire, both crits and attack speed with the expectant aspect because we're doing combo points. Moving on to the pants, we also got rubies here, just like with the chest, and we want to do ranks to dark shroud because we have dark shroud up quite often, which is a newer thing, and the more dark shrouds we have, the better damage reduction we're gonna get. So plus 4 ranks to dark shroud actually ends up being more important than in other specs because we are playing distance and we have it up more often. We also, typically with the typical damage reduction, total armor, and imbuement skill cooldown. And then we go with enshrouding here instead of cheats, mainly because again, we're playing at a distance, so we really shouldn't be getting crowd, or we shouldn't be in range to where a crowd control enemy is constantly wailing on us. So enshrouding actually becomes a better damage reduction, especially since we have dark shroud up more often, or the shadows up more often. So enshrouding takes the cake here. Moving on to boots. It's important that we get the implicit with the reduce evade cooldown because we want to be able to evade out of our rapid fire shots to be able to be more elusive and evasive, and also keep up our buff so we deal more damage. Then of course you want movement speed, obviously energy cost reduction, dodge chance versus distant enemies is very important because we don't really get hit by many melee things because of course again we're ranged, so getting this dodge chance versus distance is actually really nice to have. And then of course, damage reduction while injured. Well, we all make mistakes, right? So getting that, hefty damage reduction when we're about to die is pretty nice to have. And of course we do manglers here, which is going to help, proc concussive, and then also knock down elites and all these different things that's going to allow us to stay alive and control large groups of mobs too as well. Moving on to Paragon real quick. I'm not going to go into grave detail about this because I'm going to actually link the planner underneath. There's nothing really too special about this. You got control glyph, combat glyph, infusion glyph, ranger glyph, and the exploit glyphs, and the boards are exactly the same boards that if you've done any Maxroll builds, especially barrage, flurry, or the penetrating shot Endgame builds, which are the ones I did on Maxroll. The board is the exact same with the exact mostly pretty much the same glyphs and things. So I'm just gonna post this in the link description below, and then you can just check out the Paragon board here. But if you're coming from, like I said, barrage, pen shot, or even flurry to a certain extent, you can be changing over or making the swap over, or just even trying this out should be very, very easy because it's almost the exact same thing from those particular builds. So yeah, and that's it for this build guide. In the future, I will be updating this as well as my other guides and video guides when their new patches come out, as well as new seasons arrive when there's new things to add and subtract to said builds. If you want to check out the planner, I have that linked in the description below. And if you have any questions about anything, you can always catch me live on Twitch. I do stream roughly every night, so maybe I'll see you there. And as always, till next time.